Local Justice, presented by Elrod Pope Law Firm, serving our community since 1980. Here's your host, attorney Ben Leader.
Welcome back to Local Justice. I'm Ben Leader, managing partner of Elrod Pope Law Firm, and today we're talking about something that many people know they need to do, but far too many people put off until it's too late, and that's estate planning. Whether you're a young parent, a business owner, approaching retirement, or simply want to make life easier for your loved ones, having the right plan in place can make a tremendous difference and provide tremendous peace of mind to you and your family. Joining us today is attorney Caleb Grant, a local attorney based here in York whose practice focuses on estate planning, trust, probate, guardianships, and helping families throughout North and South Carolina prepare for the future. Caleb, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Yes,
Pleasure to have you on the show. Want to start out by just letting the viewers get to know you a little bit. So tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, and what ultimately led you to choose to attend law school.
Yeah, so I've been in York County my entire life. My grandfather started a local school and church called Blessed Hope Baptist Church, and that's where I went to school my entire life. When I graduated there, high school, I went to the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina, and that's actually where I began obtaining my interest for being an attorney. I originally, when I started at the Citadel, wanted to join the FBI, and one of the requirements or ways to get into the FBI is either having a military background or a legal background. And so I was more interested in the military background, and I had a friend, a roommate of mine, that wanted to be an attorney. And so every other Saturday or so at the Citadel, we had a Saturday morning inspection. Essentially, it's where you had to look perfect. Your room had to be perfect. It was miserable. And he told me that they had a pre-LSAT exam that you got to miss the Saturday morning inspection. And so I'm like, I don't know what this is, but sign me up. And then when he told me more, I'm like, okay, that actually connects with me wanting to join the FBI. So went to that, did well on it, and then started taking more classes, began actually becoming interested in being an attorney. And then after graduating the Citadel, went directly into law school. So that's actually, it was not my initial goal, but I love it, and I'm glad that that's where the path took me.
That's great. I kind of went into college with the same plan of not really having a plan, and it was my senior year when I finally realized, law school is the path I wanted to take. And so you don't have to have it all figured out on day one, but it often works out like it should. So where did you end up going to law school after the Citadel?
Went to Charleston School of Law. So my fiance at the time, she was going to school as well in Charleston, so we picked that instead of USC. We both graduated the same year, and then both moved back up to York in 2016.
Well, that's a great place to go to law school. You've got so many law firms there in downtown Charleston. You've got federal court system, just a lot of opportunities. So at what point in law school did probate law or wills and trust kind of stick out to you? Did you excel in that class early on and know that was kind of where you wanted to go?
No, it's sort of the same thing. So I think most law students like personal injury torts because the stories are just so interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So that was what I really enjoyed. However, while in law school, I got an internship at a local real estate firm. So when I graduated law school, I was actually doing residential closings. It was a great firm. I enjoyed it there. It's just the legal work it wasn't my calling. So I left there, dabbled briefly in family law, and then ultimately started doing wills, trust, and went to a firm in Charlotte that's all they did, and loved it. And so that's where I've been ever since. It is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
And it was kind of like a light bulb that went off as soon as you started doing that work.
Yes, all these other ones, they had their parts that I enjoyed with it, but it checks all the boxes for me. That light bulb went off and been going through ever since.
That's right, and being from York County, I imagine getting to deal with kind of the people aspect of it was a huge appealing part for you versus more of the real estate kind of transactional type work prior to that.
That's it. I don't want to be in the courtroom all the time, but with real estate, you don't get to know the client as much as I would like to. When estate planning, you have to know them very deeply, their family, their issues, their concerns, and that's the biggest calling to me. That's what I enjoy most with what I do.
And so you get through the Citadel, you get through Charleston Law School, you move back to this area, you do a couple different types of law, and then you kind of have that aha moment where this is what I want to do.
Right.
At what point did you decide to go out on the limb and hang your own shingle?
It was at the point where me and my wife spoke about it for years beforehand, and then just the door opened. It was one of those things where praying about it and things that were outside of my control just started happening. And so I took the sign, made the leap of faith, and it was the best decision I've ever made.
And there's never really an easy time
No,
to do
right.
that. There's never a time where it feels like the right, decision. There's always a lot of risk and,
Oh,
and
yeah.
faith involved in that.
That's exactly it. You can make 1,000 excuses, but ultimately I had enough things happen where it's like, this is what I'm supposed to do, so I'm just going to do it.
And then your first office, was that in downtown York where you started, or did you start with the Ballantyne and York offices together?
It was actually in the Ballantyne was our first one right when
Okay.
we started off. And then later on, probably about 6 months later, with me living in York, it made sense to get the York office as well.
Yeah, and it's great to see. It seems like a lot more life's coming to downtown York now, too. We've got an office there. We love being a part of York community, and I know there's a new Irish pub, it looks like, coming in next door to us.
Yeah.
So it's good to see.
And I think York, too, and with this area, having that legal counsel specifically for estate planning, I think it was a gap in the York area. So I think we can meet a lot of needs there that people maybe not understand that process, what the benefit is that we could help.
That's right.
Yeah.
And people in York are no longer having to get in their car and drive to Rock Hill or drive to Charlotte to get good counsel. They've got great opportunities right there in downtown York.
Yes, sir. That's right.
That's great. Well, when we get back, we're going to take a quick break from our sponsors, and when we return, I want to talk a lot more about what you actually do as far as estate planning and offer some advice for the viewers out there that may help make their lives easier.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another episode of Local Justice. We'll be right back with attorney Caleb Grant here shortly.
I was hurt. I was in need. They showed up.
In Tariq Alexander's case, somebody sideswiped him. At the end of the day, they failed to accept any responsibility for their actions.
They didn't want to take care of my bills, my accident, my truck. My attorney said, if you want to, we can fight. So I say, hey, let's go all the way with it. And I was very pleased with what the attorneys was able to do with me and for me. I look at Ben as he's not my attorney anymore. He's more of a friend. Even to this day, if something goes wrong, I'm going to be calling him.
Reliable Healthcare is a trusted home healthcare provider. They offer services to seniors and people with disabilities. Reliable Healthcare is a non-medical agency that helps with everything from personal care assistance, housekeeping, childcare, dementia, companionship, and end of life. Reliable Healthcare provides personalized care that enables clients to maintain independence and quality of life and the security of their own homes. Reliable Healthcare, where every individual deserves to be treated with the utmost respect and compassion. Visit them on the web or on Hurlong Avenue in Rock Hill.
Coke Zero is now Coke Zero Sugar, with great Coke taste. Some people were excited to hear the news, some were skeptical. So we're not going to have the star of the show you're watching come out and say, "You'll love it." No special jingle written by this week's hottest pop star. No famous internet celebs who happen to be holding the label just so. Okay, maybe just one little pour shot. The only thing that will make you believe Coke Zero Sugar has great Coke taste is trying it yourself. Ice cold Coke Zero Sugar. Try one today.
Being there for someone in their time of need is what Green Funeral Home has done compassionately for 4 generations. It's a privilege we take very seriously.
We believe each life should be honored and remembered by family and friends. Whether you choose traditional burial in our chapel or another venue, or cremation provided by our on-site crematory, we will help guide you through each step to ensure your needs are met.
We are also available to discuss pre-planning. Peace of mind that you have helped your loved one by making those difficult decisions.
When the need arises, our family is here for your family.
When a bank gets a new customer, they email a bunch of links and say good luck. But that's not us. A community banker sees us as the start of a new relationship, so we come to your office and bring a team of business specialists. Then we train your staff in all the tools they need to be successful. Bottom line, a community banker is in the trenches with your business every step of the way. I'm Catherine Faircloth, and I'd love to be your first community banker.
Welcome back to Local Justice. I'm attorney Ben Leader, and today I'm honored to be joined by attorney Caleb Grant of York, who's gracious enough to share his time and insights with us regarding estate planning. Caleb, thank you for being on the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, we've talked about your background and kind of what led you to this point in your career. When people hear the word estate planning, I think a lot of people assume that that's something that only a certain sector of society needs or should be concerned about. But it's really much broader than that, and it's something that all of us really should be aware of and thinking about. Tell us about, why estate planning is so important for families from all walks of life to have on their radar.
Right. Occasionally when I speak with clients, they say, my family will figure it out type thing. And what I always point out to them, there's not anything to figure out. It's the law. If you don't have a will in place that directs what you specifically want to happen, the statute dictates what happens. And a lot of times individuals are not aware of what that actually is. So the one example of where it can snowball into where if you have an estate plan, you could address a young couple, for example, that husband and wife that has a young child and one of the parents pass away. In that situation, let's say they have a primary residence, a house, by statute, half of that property is going to the surviving spouse, and then that minor child obtains the other half. And now you're looking at if you can't pay the mortgage, you have to go through and get a guardianship proceeding for that minor child, and then there's thousands upon thousands of issues. When if you have a estate plan, and for example, if you want everything to go to that spouse, you can just say so in the will and you can avoid all those issues. So it's more the fact that it's not something that the family will negotiate and figure out. The statute says what will happen, and if that's opposite of what you actually want to happen, then you have a big issue.
That's right. And so essentially you either have the opportunity to dictate how you want things to be handled and how your affairs to be handled, or the state dictates it for you and follows a very specific process that applies the same for everybody, regardless of whether this person had a relationship with this person or, you know, this person's no longer in the picture. If they go through intestacy, is I believe what it's called.
That's exactly right.
The state says exactly who gets what, and there's really not much that can be done about it. Is that right?
That's exactly it. And so if you have a blended family, the stepchildren, they're not heirs of yours. And so a lot of people that you want to receive assets will not in that situation. On top of it, an estate plan makes the process more streamlined. Back to that real estate example, if you don't have a will, then the personal representative is not able to sell real estate through the estate. You have to petition the court, get a hearing. It's a long process. So it makes it a lot easier if you need to get rid of assets through the estate, vehicles or assets over $10,000, the same thing. So a will just removes bond. There's many things that a will does to make that process so much easier on your family when they're grieving, when they're going through a lot.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next question, is typically this is, you know, when people are at their worst, they're grieving, they're dealing with the loss of a loved one, and then suddenly you have all these additional complications. It's kind of like a foreign language if you don't deal with probate law, where you're expected to, you know, set up this personal representative. There's paperwork associated with all of it, and, you know, the last thing anybody wants their loved ones to be dealt with is, you know, a huge burden of stress on top of grief.
Yes, and so that process, I mean, when it's going to take at least 8 months after you open it, more than likely, for the probate process. And there's thousands of forms you have to submit. You have to list a bunch of information. You have to do inventories, accountings, and then the whole time, if there's no will in place, then you can have potential disputes between other family members as to who wants to be in control of the estate, who wants to be the personal representative. When if you have a will, it's just clean cut. You appoint who you want to handle that, and you dictate where your assets go through the probate.
Absolutely, and you know, you hear about that all the time happening after somebody passing, where families have disputes and ends up being litigated often and contested, and you know, relationships are destroyed over that. And I don't think anybody, you know, leaves this earth thinking that there's going to be a fight over their estate, but it happens all the time, as I'm sure you see, you know, firsthand.
It is. That's a very true statement. People don't realize that, but when money is involved, unfortunately, people will fight over it or other assets. And the one way to just resolve that and restrict it as much as you can is to have a clear plan in place where you're saying exactly what you want, instead of the family knows what I want. Just put it in writing via will and then take care of that.
And another, you know, misconception I think that's out there is just, you know, people assume that having a basic estate planning kind of package done is going to, you know, break the bank or be too expensive. And, you know, I don't think they think about, you know, the other side of that coin. And, you know, if you don't have an estate plan set up and you do have to go through the probate process, you know, are you going to have to hire an attorney? Are you going to have to, you know, submit filing fees with all these paperwork? And I imagine the ROI on that, you know, estate plan goes a lot further than, you know, just those initial costs.
It is. It's well worth it. There's additional documentation. There's renunciations. There's bond that could be involved. All that stuff, which is expenses, is avoided if you have an estate plan, a will in place. So yes, the ROI on that is greatly worth it to get it done up front, as opposed to let your family deal with it on the back end.
Absolutely. And so, you know, a basic estate plan, what does that look like? What are kind of the core documents that you would think, you know, every citizen out there should be considering, having on their radar?
I would highly recommend a will, a power of attorney, and a healthcare power of attorney. I know we hit on the will a great deal with the probate and how that streamlines that. For the power of attorney, realistically, so for example, me and my wife, we have power of attorneys for each other. My wife has never used it for me because I handle my own finances. But if something ever happens to me, if I'm in a car crash, if I'm incapacitated, then at that point in time, my wife does not automatically have the power to manage my assets. The only way that you can get that power is through a conservatorship with the court in South Carolina. So that requires a hearing. That's months to get done. That's thousands of dollars in legal fees. So you can avoid all that just by having a power of attorney where you dictate, if I cannot make a decision for myself, I want whoever it may be to make this decision for me. Healthcare power of attorney is the same way, only it's for healthcare related matters. But you make your decisions now. If you are not able to make those decisions, then you're appointing whoever it may be to make and to speak to the physician on your behalf and make those decisions.
That's right, and those healthcare powers of attorney can cover a lot of those difficult questions
Right.
that families often may not agree on, while somebody's incapacitated. And so, again, having your say and your control over what happens versus, leaving it open-ended.
Yes, and the whole time, if people argue, nothing's happening for your benefit, and you have to go to litigation to resolve it. So you can just take care of all of that with a good standard estate plan.
Absolutely. So power of attorney, a healthcare power of attorney, a basic will, that's something that every single viewer out there should have on their plate, should have on their radar, and should be thinking ahead of time on. So we're going to take another brief break from our sponsors, and when we return, we'll touch on the final segment on kind of what a trust is and what that process may look like. I know it can get complicated.
Yes, it can.
But we'll hit a bird's eye view on it. So again, appreciate your time and being on the show, and thank you to the viewers for tuning in. We'll be right back with more Local Justice with Attorney Caleb Grant here shortly.
We have not lost the core values of what started this business.
A lot of attorneys spent many decades working extremely hard to build the reputation we have.
It's been really exciting to see the evolution and see the growth.
Our role now is to take this firm to the next level and to become a law firm of the future while still honoring their legacies by doing really high quality legal work and taking great care of clients the same way we have been for the last 46 years.
Coke Zero is now Coke Zero Sugar, with great Coke taste. Some people were excited to hear the news, some were skeptical. So we're not going to have the star of the show you're watching come out and say, "You'll love it." No special jingle written by this week's hottest pop star. No famous internet celebs who happen to be holding the label just so. Okay, maybe just one little pour shot. The only thing that will make you believe Coke Zero Sugar has great Coke taste is trying it yourself. Ice cold Coke Zero Sugar. Try one today.
When a catastrophe hits, it can be a very stressful time for you. When you have trees on your house, when you have trees on your cars, and you don't know what to do, you call us.
We're not a 1-800 number, we're an 803 number. We've been in business for over 60 years because we take care of our clients. That means taking care of them during claim situations.
We're not 9 to 5, we're 24/7. We're gonna be there when you need us most. Gill Insurance, your local auto owner's agent. Understanding business is how we do business.
We know the type. You like to start early, finish late, make lemon squares, and make payments to the college fund from anywhere in the house. We know you rely on Comporium for the things you rely on most, like a view of the backyard. That's just a bunny, and hundreds of channels to watch, whenever you want. So you may think of us as just your internet company, but we're more like the I didn't know they could do all that company. Comporium, always ready.
Founders Federal Credit Union means banking made for you. The on the go, the pick up and go, and the oh, I want to go. Because at Founders, we give you the financial tools that make every dollar work for you. For the little things to the big things. For your future and your peace of mind. We'll always stay grounded in our roots, but reaching beyond what you'd expect is where we'll always go. Find out what our members already know and enjoy a new way to bank. Relax, you're with Founders.
Welcome back to Local Justice. I'm attorney Ben Leader with the Elrod Pope Law Firm, And today I'm honored to have with us attorney Caleb Grant out of York, South Carolina, who's gracious enough to talk everything about estate planning with us today. So Caleb, thank you again for joining us.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We've talked about wills, we've talked about powers of attorney, we've talked about your background and kind of what got you to this point. I want to touch on trust a little bit, and I know we could have 5 episodes alone just on the complexity involved with trust, but tell us in kind of basic terms, what's the difference between a will and a trust, and who should be thinking about having a trust set up?
Right. So as you point out, there's thousands of different trusts that you can set up for different reasons. The most common that the majority of people would benefit from is a revocable living trust. And essentially where it differs from a will is the will governs assets that pass through probate. While a trust is designed, to assets that go into the trust that fund the trust often avoid probate. So for example, if you own real estate in South Carolina and North Carolina, when you pass away, we have to open up an estate in South Carolina to administer that real estate. Also an ancillary, a smaller estate in North Carolina. If you create a trust and deed those properties into the trust, they avoid probate in both states, so you cut down on the ancillary. The other big key difference that clients like is the will is filed in the probate court. It's on public record. Anybody can go there and look at it. A trust is private. It's not filed with the probate court, so you have that privacy. And then it's also the other assets. So if you have business interest, if you have separate assets where you want them to go to your children, but you want someone to watch, to monitor for your children, a trust is the vessel to use in that situation.
That's great. And so is it, generally the case that, people with more assets tend to look more at trust and explore those opportunities more than somebody, who's dealing with limited assets?
It is, most time that's the situation, but also it really just depends on the assets that you have. So if you do have an asset that you are able to, that naturally avoids probate, such as life insurance, things like that, you may not need a trust. But if you do have assets, again, that are more difficult to get to avoid probate, or the beneficiaries, again, you want that safeguard, then that's where a trust is involved. But yes, 9 times out of 10 it is someone with more assets. They lean towards the trust as opposed to just sticking with a will.
And if a trust is set up, the way they envision it and properly, is it possible for them to avoid the probate process altogether?
It is, if you fund it properly, and that's the key thing. And by funding it, I mean directing assets to it. So life insurance changed the beneficiary to the trust. Land and real estate changed the deed conveying ownership to the trust. You have to do an action to get those assets into the trust. But anything that the trust owns, it follows the terms of the trust and avoids probate. A lot of times trusts are set up where if the grantor, the individual that created the trust, when they pass away, it goes to a beneficiary. It can be spouse, and then you can have it where there's a trust for the spouse inside that document itself. When the spouse passes away, then it may go to your children in trust. So you can have it layers where it goes down, and each time, each step down, it avoids probate for that individual that passes away.
That's fantastic. You can not only do it for yourself immediate, thereafter, but you can actually set it up for multiple generations and lines.
Tear it down, and yes, and those assets, when you get to that point for the children, if you do set it up that way, then they get creditor protection from their creditors. So it's compounding benefits if you set it up for your family.
And I think one of the reasons it is so crucial to have an attorney involved in that process and not to try to do this online yourself is that, one word, one beneficiary on one benefit could, cause you to have to open that estate and go through probate if everything isn't lined up perfectly.
That's exactly, we've had multiple cases where that's the issue. We have multiple cases where the fundings, someone creates their own trust, but they forget the key, the most important part of putting the asset into it. And now that asset that they intended it to be in the trust, it's not part of it, and it does go through probate.
And then that adds that whole process that they attempted to avoid.
You wasted your time and money on doing that, yes.
That's right. So if there's any area of law where it's just vital to have counsel, I think probate planning, estate planning is number one.
I agree.
You may not learn of a problem for 10, 20 years down the road, but it can be a huge problem with a tremendous impact.
And yes, and you may never know about it, but your family will find out about it whenever that time arrives.
That's right. One of the things I appreciate the most about your practice is you are dually licensed. You can help people in both South and North Carolina, and with where we're situated right here on the state line, there is often property in both states and a need to have to involve, the probate process in both states. Now You've been doing this for years now. What do you enjoy the most on a kind of a day-to-day basis about the work you do?
What I enjoy the most is just talking to clients, actually getting to know them. I think I didn't realize that coming out of law school, but that is my favorite part of the law, is just taking care of the client, getting to be their attorney. If there's ever a problem, I'm going to reach out to Caleb. He'll direct me in the right path. That's my biggest calling, but also seeing their plan, addressing their issues, and then carrying it out. So when they do pass away, advocating for them even after the fact, and letting the family know this is why they did it, this is what we're doing, and executing the plan that they put in place.
That's right, and that duty in your client's case may last decades for
That's
you.
right.
You know, you really do have clients for life, and then
Yes.
long thereafter. So
that's exactly right. We do amendments to trust, update wills as life changes. That's the other thing. What you set up now is your will or your trust, but if life changes, loved ones pass away, whatever it may be, then we need to update documents. So it is a lifetime relationship.
that's right. And so for any viewers out there, just like going out and hanging your own shingle, there's never the right time to go
right.
decide to get probate planning done. But it's one of those things you've just got to rip the Band-Aid off and take care of, and you'll have a lot more peace of mind afterwards. For anybody out there that this is their aha moment and they want to knock this out, how can they get in touch with you, and what's the best way of trying to get help with something like this?
The best way is to reach out to us via email. My email is caleb@grantlawfirm.org. That's the easiest way. We also have grantlawfirm.org is the website, which we have all of our phone numbers and direct lines to me there. So that's the easiest and the best way to reach out to me.
And you're an independent law firm. You're the owner of the law
That's right.
firm. You're going to get a response. You're going to deal with Caleb himself as your attorney, and that's one of the reasons we enjoy working with your firm so much.
That's right. I see any communications that come through, I will answer directly to it, or my paralegal will remind me to answer to it.
That's right. Well, Caleb, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insight and knowledge about estate planning. I know it's not always the easiest topic for people to think about and talk about, but as you pointed out, it's really one of the greatest gifts we can leave the people we love. Taking a little time today can really save families a tremendous amount of grief and stress and uncertainty down the road.
Yes, sir.
So thank you for your time, and thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another episode of Local Justice. We'll see you next week. Stay safe out there. Thanks.
We're a part of the community, and that really is our backbone. These communities have supported our firm for 46 years.
All the attorneys at our firm really care about each one of our clients, and it's because they're from our community.
The team does a great job of reaching out to them and making sure that they feel embraced, they feel cared for.
All the success we've had is because of just a core fundamental belief in treating our clients the way we would want our family treated if we were in similar circumstances.
Brown's Roofing began in 1989 with just a truck, a trailer, and a mission to do things the right way. What started as one man hand-nailing shingles has grown into a trusted name across South Carolina and North Carolina. At Brown's Roofing, we believe in honest work, fair pricing, and a quality that lasts. If we wouldn't allow it on our mother's home, we won't allow it on yours. With Brown's Roofing, you're not just getting a roof, you're getting our word.
We know the type. You like to start early, finish late, make lemon squares, and make payments to the college fund from anywhere in the house. We know you rely on Comporium for the things you rely on most, like a view of the backyard. That's just a bunny, and hundreds of channels to watch, whenever you want. So you may think of us as just your internet company, but we're more like the I didn't know they could do all that company. Comporium, always ready.
Yeah, I'm 101, number one, we the best, it's another one. I say it with my chest, I'm telling everyone. Diamond Cup, 101, number one, we the best, it's another one. I say it with my chest, I'm telling everyone. Diamond Cup, that's a hole in one. Yeah, I'm 101, number one, we the best, it's another one. I say it with my chest, I'm telling everyone. Diamond Cup.
What's the best way to attract a wide variety of beautiful birds to your backyard? By offering the birds the right foods in expertly designed bird feeders from Wild Birds Unlimited. Whether you've been feeding the birds for a while or are just getting started, let our backyard bird feeding specialists show you how to add a little joy to your life and make nature a part of every day. Shop now for exclusive bird foods, feeders, hardware, and more. Wild Birds Unlimited. Products designed by experts. Trusted local advice.
When it comes